Good morning and welcome to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. I'm Jim Rosenfield, Dave Briggs, Kieran Chetry here at the table with me at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey, where it's a chilly Friday morning.
I was going to say, tell us which of these things does not belong.
Sleeveless.
One is sleeveless, two are freezing in their sweatshirts.
Well,
one is tougher than the other
once
two.
you get the coffee and you warm up a little bit.
You can take
but
anything,
yes,
right?
I mean, this is welcome to autumn, right? I mean, this is what happens.
It feels like fast forward to winter
I know,
a little
it does.
bit out
It
here.
does.
I mean,
Shock
it
to the
was
system. All right.
cold out east.
All right, let's talk about what's been going on while you all have been sleeping. Breaking news to tell you about this morning. Another U.S. strike on a Venezuelan boat allegedly carrying drugs. This is the sixth known attack, the second just this week. And for the first time, guys, there are survivors among the crew. Imagine that. That raises all sorts of questions. Did the U.S. come to the aid of the survivors? There are reports that there was a rescue helicopter out there. Are those survivors now in U.S. custody? Who are they? Are they being treated as kind of prisoners of war? A lot of questions this morning about that, and no answers at this point.
And backtrack, what's the legality of any of these strikes?
That's the question being asked by lawmakers in Congress.
And people in the military
Yeah.
as well. In another major development, the U.S. Navy commander, speaking of, who supervised military strikes in the Caribbean Sea, is stepping down. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced on social media late Thursday that Admiral Alvin Halsey will step down as head of U.S. Southern Command, a position he'd held for less than a year. Hegseth did not say why he stepped down. However, the New York Times reported the admiral had voiced concerns about these recent strikes.
Also this morning, Wall Street Journal is reporting that Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is mobilizing troops and a million-strong militia across the Caribbean coast, declaring that his country is, quote, ready for combat. The Journal also says that Venezuela's military is underfunded, ill-trained, and no match for American firepower.
All right, our other top story, Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky. He landed in Washington yesterday. That's for his meeting, again, with President Trump, amid his hopes to secure that deal to buy some Tomahawk missiles that could land deep into Russian territory, all the way into Moscow, as we understand it. Zelensky posted on X, "We expect the momentum of curbing terror and a war that succeeded in the Middle East will help to end Russia's war against Ukraine. Putin certainly no braver than Hamas or any other terrorist," he said on X. Meantime, Trump and Russia's President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone yesterday, and they've decided have another face-to-face meeting in a few weeks coming up in Hungary.
A little context here. The attacks have dramatically ramped up since Putin and Trump first met. Dramatically. This is a different scale of a war now. They're hitting energy targets inside Ukraine, and it's shocking to see there's no de-escalation. Let's bring in our foreign correspondent, Amy Kellogg, with more on both meetings. Amy, great to have you. Trump characterized this call with Putin as productive. He said there are great progress made. Is there any more details that they discussed? And can you add a little context to what I'm suggesting there, that attacks have dramatically ramped up on Russia's side?
Well, Dave, it was a 2-hour phone call, and according to the Kremlin, it was on Putin's initiative, which is interesting as Zelensky was in the air on his way to America when that call happened. As you mentioned, he's wanting to obtain some of these Tomahawk missiles for Ukraine's fight against Russia. The Tomahawks came up in the phone call, of course, Putin telling Trump that he would not like to see Ukraine get its hands on those missiles, and that it would be a true escalation of this conflict. We were hearing Trump last week saying that he was leaning towards providing those missiles to Ukraine. And again, that would allow Ukraine to have greater range in hitting military targets inside Russia and energy infrastructure facilities. But after the call with Putin last night, we're hearing Trump back away from the Tomahawks a bit, suggesting that the U.S. needs them. There was great flattery during this phone call. Putin poured it on, congratulating Trump for his recent peace deal in the Middle East, saying it's something others had tried for centuries to obtain. Putin also was very complimentary about Melania Trump, the First Lady's efforts to try to reunite Ukrainian children with their families. Of course, Putin is wanted in The Hague for war crimes, specifically for the fact that Russia abducted thousands and thousands of Ukrainian children to Russia. And Melania Trump was able to get a few of those kids reunited last week, but there are still thousands more. And finally, last week, before this call, Putin even said that he thought that Trump should have won that Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow. Well, and also these two met in Alaska back in August, and there appeared to be a little bit of hope at that point of de-escalating this, trying to figure out how to back away from both sides, because Russia is facing really basically some of the worst economic times they've faced in a very long time, and we obviously know the toll it's taken on the Ukraine. How are they not getting closer at this point to trying to settle this?
Yeah, Kieran, and one thing to point out, the Secretary General of NATO said just about a week ago that Russia is not winning this war, though, of course, it's got more people and superior military capabilities. It has lost 1 million men, and that is between deaths and also injuries. And for that, in the past year, Russia has only acquired about 0.5% of Ukrainian territory. So the cost for Putin is extraordinarily high. During the Alaska summit, a lot of people were quite shocked to see the red carpet being rolled out for a man who is wanted as a war criminal in The Hague. And he did not make any concessions after that summit. In fact, Putin escalated his attacks to levels we hadn't seen in these 3 years on Ukraine. Maybe the only good thing that came of that meeting is that the Europeans were quite scared that Putin was falling under, or Trump was falling under Putin's influence. And so they scrambled, crossed the pond, and we saw them all meeting with Trump in the days after the Alaska summit, begging Trump to get back on side with Ukraine, which he seems to have done. But then this phone call last night could be setting things back. We'll just have to wait and see what comes of the preparatory meetings for the summit that should happen between Trump and Putin now in the next 2 weeks in Budapest.
You talked a little bit about this, Amy, this issue of the Tomahawk missiles. How would that change the ongoing war in terms of putting Ukraine at the advantage and really being able to strike at the heart of Russia?
Well, the range is about 1,000 miles. And right now, the weaponry that was given under the Biden administration has a range of 200 miles. But apparently, the experts say you need to use these Tomahawks in waves to really make a difference. Multiple pronged attacks on an energy infrastructure, military infrastructure, that kind of thing. People have said it won't change the game altogether, but it would be a very potent symbol and obviously much more powerful than what Ukraine currently has. It is something that, obviously Trump is weighing the pros and cons. The pros are that it could force Putin to the negotiating table, but Putin is so unpredictable that he could react in a way that we simply can't imagine. So it does up the ante, but it certainly strengthens Ukraine's hand if it can, in fact, get these Tomahawks, which are usually launched from sea. Another complicating factor is the facilities for land launches, which Ukraine would want, need to be scrambled. So it's complicated, but it can be done.
Amy Kellogg, thanks so much for the
Thanks, Amy.
analysis there. I think more than anything, it would tell us that Trump is actually willing to punish Putin, which we haven't seen. There is a sanction package that Republicans in the Senate have been begging the president to put on Russia that he refuses to look at. So it would be nice to see him really lean in and support Ukraine here. Israel and Hamas, meanwhile, featured prominently in the first debate for the New York mayoral race between Democrat socialist Zoran Mamdani, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and Republican and Guardian Angels founder Curtis Sliwa.
A lot of fireworks.
So for the voters tuning in tonight, Mr. Mamdani, what do you believe about Hamas and how lasting peace will be achieved?
Of course, I believe that they should lay down their arms. I, like many New Yorkers, am hopeful that this ceasefire will hold. I'm hopeful that it is durable. I'm hopeful that it is just. And for it to be just, we also have to ensure that it addresses the conditions that preceded this, conditions like occupation, like the siege, and apartheid.
The assemblyman will not denounce Hamas. The assemblyman just said in his response, well, it depends on occupation. That is code, meaning that Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish state.
I want to be very clear. The occupation is a reference to international law and the violation of it, which Mr. Cuomo has no regard for since he signed up to be Benjamin Netanyahu's legal defense team during the course of this genocide. And I find the comments that Hassan made on 9/11.
So using that word genocide there again.
Yeah.
You didn't see poor Curtis Sliwa at all in that.
We'll get to that. But first, we're joined by political strategist Jeanette Hoffman to talk about this night. Jeanette, good to see you. Thanks for being here bright and early.
Great to be here, guys.
If someone were to ask you, what was the theme of the night? Who felt like won this debate? What would you tell them?
Well, listen, it was an interesting night. And always multi-candidate debates feel a little awkward when it's not one-on-one. Two's company, three is a crowd, right? And I feel like there were Curtis Sliwa, Andrew Cuomo, they're both trying to knock down Mamdani because he is the front runner, right? So they're trying to knock him down, score that knockout punch against him. I don't really think they did it. Mamdani's said some really controversial things in the past, whether it's defunding the police, which he said time and time again, and his controversial statements against Israel, arresting Prime Minister Netanyahu, a lot of things against Israel, not calling for Hamas to be disarmed, but Mamdani is really a smooth operator, right? Every question you notice, he comes back to, what is it?
Affordability.
Exactly.
The guy is skilled. You got to give it to him. You're right.
I think one of the punches that got landed that, people were talking about this morning in, social media circles was the back and forth between Cuomo and Mamdani when he said, you've literally not done anything.
Yeah, the
your
inexperience issue.
You're completely inexperienced. The only thing on your resume is that you worked for your mom.
You worked for your mom. You've never had a job. And this is not, Mayor, the largest city in the world, is not a place for on-the-job training. Right. And I also thought Curtis Sliwa landed a pretty good punch on Andrew Cuomo when he said, I knew Mario Cuomo. You, Andrew Cuomo, are no Mario Cuomo. You let 48 cop killers out of prison. I mean, that was harsh.
Cuomo obviously, though, needed to break through last night. He needed to attract some new voters into his camp. A lot was made of his resignation as governor.
Yeah.
Did he accomplish that? Did he break any new ground? Did he energize anybody to say, hey, I'm your guy?
I'm not sure he did that. And frankly, when I watched it, I was kind of reminded of the past and why he resigned, right? Like all the sexual harassment lawsuits. I think I was reminded, oh, wow, there were 13 lawsuits against him. Right. And, oh, wow, a lot of people did die during COVID because of the nursing home issue. So, I'm not sure he attracted any new voters. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think it may have reminded a lot of people of the reason that he resigned in office.
It's just a stunning dynamic. I mean, you've got a guy in Mamdani, take the socialism off the table.
Yeah.
He repeatedly refused on a Fox News interview to condemn Hamas. There are 2 million Jews in New York City. And if you look at the Fox News poll, Sliwa could get out of this race. All of his support could go to Cuomo, and Mamdani would still lead by 10. This is not a race. It is not even close to a race.
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, for me, I mean, those comments would be disqualifying, right? I mean, it's stunning.
It's really
and
stunning.
I mean, take that out of the equation. He also said he's going to raise taxes. Admittedly, he's going to raise taxes by $9 billion to pay for things like free buses and
universal health care,
childcare, and taking over grocery stores in Manhattan, which would drive a lot of private investment out of the city. So, I think these policies are very outside of the mainstream. They're very socialist, but yet he still continues to surge in the polls.
He also tried to do some damage control about Hamas laying down its arms. He finally said last night, of course, they should, something he wouldn't say in his Fox interview the days prior.
Just the day before.
Yeah. One thing they all did agree on, it seems, the issue of bringing the National Guard, the potential of bringing the National Guard by President Trump into the city of New York. Let's take a listen to that.
I would tell the President of the United States, since I'm familiar with cities all across America having guardian angels there, if you were going to send the National Guard, you don't need to send them to New York City. There are other cities that could desperately use their help in dealing with their crime crisis.
Thank you. We do not need the National Guard here in New York City. We do not need them for the purpose of safety, because if it was safety that President Trump was so concerned about, he would send them to the 8 out of 10 states that have the highest levels of crime in this country, but he won't, because they're all run by Republicans.
He's not sending in the National Guard to do any real function. It's control, it's power. He's trying to say these Democrats don't know how to run these cities, and it's a political gesture by sending in the National Guard. I went through this with him. He sent the National Guard to 20 cities when I was governor. You know what city he didn't send them to? New York. Why? Because I said to him, don't you dare, we don't need it, and he backed down, and he will again.
So that proves a good relationship.
So they were all sort of flexing their muscles of, we will fight back against the administration when we don't agree. All three of them did that. If Sliwa dropped out and joined forces with Cuomo, would that help? Or, as Dave was saying, is this over?
I think, listen, there's only a couple weeks to go. I'm not sure if Sliwa dropped out maybe a month ago and it was a one-on-one race, maybe it would have made a difference. I'm not so sure with only, early voting starts in a couple days, or I think it's October 25th. I'm not sure that there's enough time for a one-on-one race to make a difference. I think Mamdani is very comfortable right now in the polls ahead. And listen, in a debate like this, you're looking for that knockout moment, because a lot of people aren't tuning in live. So you want a viral moment that you can make a television ad or a commercial out of. And I don't really think that either Sliwa or Cuomo scored that against Mamdani.
But Sliwa is making no noise about dropping out. I mean, he seems to be very.
He actually tweeted last night that he won the debate, and that Cuomo should get out.
Yeah.
So, I'm not joking. This is actually a tweet.
He's digging in. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I'm curious your thoughts on the national storyline here. There's been a lot of reporting that Trump wants Sliwa out of the race because he doesn't want Mamdani to win. Would this be good for the Republican Party as a whole if Mamdani wins this race and governs
in certain ways? Yes, because they would have that foil. Like, look, I'm a Republican, and
that's why I ask.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would like to see it. Like, look, guys, this is the face of the Democratic Party. This is what you want. Higher crime, terrible taxes, socialist policies. But, listen, I understand where President Trump, he has a lot of investment in New York City. It's the best, biggest city in the world. Trump Tower is there. He doesn't want to see the city go down a bad path like that. So I think as a patriot, as someone who cares deeply about New York City, I think that's why he doesn't want to see it go into Mamdani's hands.
For his own pocket as well. I think what you were hinting at. I mean, you said a lot of investment.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars. But also, look, it's the biggest city in America, right? So why would he want to see that happen to our country?
I think they have one more face-off coming up the 22nd.
22nd,
before the early voting starts. Jeanette Hoffman, thanks for being here at the table.
It's always great to be with you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
good to have you.
Well, we're going to check in on our coast-to-coast forecast for the weekend with AccuWeather meteorologist Alex De Silva. Very cold this morning here in New Jersey. What's it looking like around the country for the weekend?
Yeah, well, we're still tracking severe weather coming across the country. It's kind of the second severe weather season. Once we get into the fall months, the jet stream comes down, you get those clashes of different air masses. So for today, we're tracking everywhere from the Red River all the way up to portions of Iowa for some severe weather today. But I think tomorrow is going to probably have the most reports. This is the area that we're tracking tomorrow across the middle Mississippi Valley up towards Indianapolis. These are the areas I think we're going to have to watch out tomorrow for some damaging winds and maybe some isolated tornadoes as well. And then the next day, the threat shifts up into portions of the Ohio Valley and the Northeast for the day on Sunday. So we'll just have to look for localized severe weather in this area. I'm also tracking the tropics. Two different areas of concern right now. This area up here, low chance of development. That's going to be going out to sea. No threat to the United States from that area. This area, however, we have upgraded to a moderate risk of development down in the Caribbean Sea. October 20th through the 24th is the development time window. So let's track it out for you. Here's the tropical wave that's located in the central Atlantic. Through the weekend into early next week, it's going to be approaching the islands. Early next week, it's probably in the Eastern Caribbean. And that's, I think, where we could start to see some organization with this tropical wave. And then it develops late next week. And then the question is, where does it go? Does it just keep going west towards Mexico? Or does it turn up across the islands? And then we have to watch the east coast of the United States. So we're a long way out, but one thing that really concerns me is just how warm those water temperatures are in this area. This map shows how much warmer they are from average. Everywhere in orange and yellow are water temperatures that are above average for this time of the year. Water temperatures in this area are in the mid to upper 80s. So a lot of fuel for if anything gets in there. We haven't seen any tropical development this season in the Caribbean. Those waters are primed for development. So if anything gets in this area, which we expect it to do, it could take off pretty quickly. And that's why we have to watch the forecast, especially next week.
Alex De Silva, we need to take a dip in that water.
warm 80-degree water.
Sounds
Yeah.
nice.
All right, coming up next, former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton indicted on federal charges that could land him behind bars for decades if he's convicted. More on that when we come right back. Welcome back. We've got something that's going to warm us all up here at the table, but I'm not sure if you are near this, you want to experience it. One of the world's most active volcanoes is erupting this morning. Hawaii's Kilauea volcano experiencing its 35th episode. Wow. U.S. Geological Survey sharing this streaming video this morning.
It's mesmerizing to see it.
Just watch that. Look at that.
I know.
Just wow. Sharing this streaming video, and past episodes we know reached fountains of lava more than 1,200 feet. The last time it was this active, guys, was just last month. So Kilauea is feeling it this morning. Look at that.
It is truly beautiful
to watch.
You're right. I mean, it's a gorgeous sight. I mean,
That's on my bucket
dangerous
list.
as all hell, but
Yeah.
What's on your bucket
So go to
list?
Hawaii.
Okay, but not
You haven't
too
been to
close
Hawaii?
to that.
No, I haven't.
I haven't either.
Oh, let's
What?
go.
Let's
Road
go.
trip.
Road trip.
I'm sure there's a diner in Hawaii.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, road trip. Let's do
You're
this.
going to come?
I love Hawaii. Yes, I've been a couple of times. It's a wonderful place to visit. Meanwhile, President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, indicted late yesterday afternoon on 18 counts related to his handling of classified information. The federal indictment accuses Bolton of retaining and transmitting national security information and saying he shared it with two unauthorized individuals. CNN reports those two people are his wife and daughter. The indictment says Bolton used his AOL email account to share his notes and thoughts. Career professionals at the Justice Department have been working on this case since the Biden administration. President Trump reacted shortly after the announcement, saying he didn't know it had happened and that Bolton is a bad person and bad guy. Bolton's lawyer said his client did nothing wrong. He could face decades in prison if convicted. Just a little note here. The Wall Street Journal, very conservative Wall Street Journal, Rupert Murdoch owned, said John Bolton is a patriot. If he had praised Trump in his book, it's safe to say he would not have been indicted. That is the conservative.
And he did
Murdoch
not praise
owned.
Trump in his book in the room where it happened.
It is another going after your political enemies prosecution.
That's number 3, if we're keeping track, in terms of so-called adversaries who've been now
And
indicted.
you mean James Comey and Letitia James.
No one's above the law, though. You know,
That's what
no one's
the AG
above
says.
the law.
Yeah, I think this one, if you talk to legal experts, almost have to separate this one from Comey and Letitia James. Those two really looked like thin cases at the very best. This one looks pretty substantial.
Yeah, when you talk to
but can you separate it from pursuing your political enemies? No, you cannot.
Well, he is going to have a lot to answer for.
100%.
And the other question about whether or not it's politically motivated, he was being looked at and being warned in prior administrations
as we said,
as well.
yeah.
His lawyer is saying this is information that was contained in his diaries as he was preparing to write the book.
Yes, but
he kept very detailed diaries throughout his time.
Yeah, and one of the things that one of the constitutional lawyers that I was listening to, Jonathan Turley, was talking about is you can't use the excuse everybody else does it, because we, on both sides, politicians have said that, well, everybody does it. Everybody.
Well, Trump had boxes of classified information laying all around,
and Hillary Clinton
at Mar-a-Lago,
having servers that are in her basement, and on and on. But the Justice Department has filed the first terrorism charges against alleged Antifa members. 2 suspects, Cameron Arnold and Zachary Evitz, indicted for a July 4th attack. This happened at an ICE facility in Texas. The FBI says that the attack was planned and coordinated, involving fireworks as a distraction before firing semi-automatic rifles at officers. FBI Director Kash Patel calls it the first time ever that Antifa-linked extremists have been charged with material support for terrorism. The charges come just weeks after President Trump signed an order formally classifying Antifa as a terrorist organization.
Let's talk about the government shutdown. Let's not forget that's still going on, guys, right?
Day 17.
And its impact is being
felt.
Third
week
people.
is virtually guaranteed right now, being that it's Friday. So it looks like at a minimum we're going to go into a third week.
And by some estimates, it is costing $5 billion a week, because all
off
of
the economy. You mean?
Yeah. It's just that, you still have to make it up for it. It's not like you pause at this amount and then, you restart again. All of the services and getting things up and running again is very costly. And one of the things that is going to no doubt cause a huge stir if it happens. Millions of Americans who rely on SNAP benefits or food stamps could lose access to food assistance as early as November if the government shutdown continues. The USDA warned that there will be insufficient funds to pay full SNAP benefits next month if Congress doesn't reach a deal. The SNAP program supports 42 million people nationwide, helping low-income families buy groceries. And states including North Carolina, Wisconsin, and Minnesota have already begun sending notices and warning residents that there could be possible disruptions. USDA officials say that they're developing a contingency plan, but that reserve funds could run out if the shutdown extends beyond October. During the last major shutdown, this was in 2018, 2019, benefits were paid early and emergency funds were passed by Congress to keep the program running.
the Dave Briggs congressional platform, as you know, will be the first thing I need to see is neither side, no one in Congress gets paid.
Yeah, that's
if there's
your,
a government shutdown. This is
that
not,
sticks in
I'm
your
not picking
craw.
sides here.
Yeah.
Both Democrats and Republicans should be the first one to not be paid here. They're not working and being paid where everyone else is working and not being paid.
Right.
Think about
But
how
the-
ironic that
and,
is.
And the food stamps, I mean, you cannot take away something that is a necessity for that many millions
Survival.
of households.
Literal
Yes.
survival.
And it's just another reason why people are so disgusted with Congress, I'll tell you.
Well, and also, those people who were asking, why isn't President Trump, getting more involved? It just, is he
More involved? He's not involved at all.
Yeah, he's
Zero.
not getting the two sides to talk, and perhaps because he doesn't want them.
No, he
talk.
likes
he
the
wants us on
optics
the
here.
Democrats.
Well, see, it's
He's,
so
but he's
funny
not.
because
He's
on
not
the
been
other
quiet
side,
about that.
Yeah.
He likes the
But
optics.
on the other side, when you talk about who is to blame, I mean, based on what your political, ideology is, you are 100% blaming the other side on both sides. I was just reading an article that was saying that it's Democrats that don't want this to get solved before the No Kings rallies this weekend. So it is unbelievable how divided this has become politically.
And that's why Kalshi, the betting markets,
what's the latest?
39.6 days is how long they have this shutdown lasting.
And what was the
Any
longest
minute
one
now, we're
before
going to go
this?
north
35,
of 40.
35 days was the longest.
It continues to spike. 35, the prior record.
All right, coming up next, you may not be ready for it, but holiday shopping season is already here. More on that when we come right back. Maybe Karen will get some long sleeve outfits during holiday shopping.
We'll
season.
buy her some.
Sleeves,
That's your
for
Christmas present. Welcome back to Connecting America, coming to you from Roselle Park, New Jersey at the Sunrise Diner. Holiday fever already seems to be striking retailers. Macy's and Disney are teaming up with a limited edition holiday collection of fashion and decor. This, as their partnership celebrates the upcoming 99th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Minnie Mouse is the theme of a lot of these items. Kate Spade bags, cardigans, and jeans sparkling with Swarovski crystals are included in the collection. There's even a ruby woo shade of lipstick inspired by Minnie and Daisy Duck. We're going to get maybe a Minnie Mouse sweater for Kieran. Jacket,
yeah, I like
something.
that. I like that kickback, that varsity looking sweater. You can wear it right over your shoulders if you happen
want the Christmas.
made the wrong decision and gone sleeveless this morning. Hey, I still thought it was like, a nice autumn. I didn't know we were like heading directly into winter. Well, not to be left out of the holiday craze, Lego is introducing a 4,100 piece Lego Icons Tropical Aquarium set.
Love Lego.
For 18 and up. The controls actually, you can do it, Jim.
That's me.
Controls in the back actually let you animate the fish, the coral, a crab, and the obligatory treasure chest.
Goodness, look at this.
It's $480. And the level of intricacy matches its heavy price tag. The Underwater World for Adults from Lego will be available on November 16th. I'm getting it.
They're
for us.
Well,
Are you getting it for
geniuses.
us? We like it.
You do? Well, I'm telling you, we had a 5,000 piece Hogwarts set that we got for, as the group gift for our kids. We worked on that nonstop.
Still working on it from last year.
From like
brilliant.
That
the
company 23rd
is genius.
On up, and everybody had their little part, and it was cool. I like the aquarium.
And you're joking, I know, but like adults are one of the biggest markets for Legos.
Yeah,
I mean it's just.
I think we should just
from a
spread it all out over the
standpoint,
table here and work on it.
It's one of the smartest operators in the business world.
Really
I just
really, you wish you thought of it.
I just how they constantly reinvent the companies for marketing.
We've been talking about labor issues on Broadway. There are bargaining talks over contracts. They're going on Broadway with the unions representing the actors and the stage managers as well as musicians. As we told you yesterday, Musicians Union agreed to authorize a strike if it comes down to that. But in the meantime, Broadway is still up and running. Box office numbers, in fact, for Hamilton, they hit $4 million last week. That's the highest grossing week in its 10-year history of that show. Ragtime, a musical revival now playing at Lincoln Center, made over $1 million. What are the ticket prices, though? Let's talk about that. They're steep. Joining us now is our Broadway reporter, Lee Sheps. You were there last night for the celebratory opening night of Ragtime, originally opened back in the 90s, right?
1998, when it originally opened in 98, and it lost the Tony Award to The Lion King that year.
Okay.
But let me tell you about this production. This is one of the most incredible performance that you must go see this show this fall. Talking about holiday gifts. This is a holiday gift to get. It's a limited run production, and it's going to be something that we talk about, the performances of the ages. And I was there last night covering for Us Weekly, and the carpet, it was a stunning carpet. I spoke to everyone in the cast and a lot of the celebrities too. The people that we were looking to see last night, Brian Stokes Mitchell and Audra McDonald, who were in the original 1998 production, were there to cheer on the new cast.
And you said you better, be ready for spending a little bit of time there. It's not a quick show.
It's 3 hours long. And let me tell you the importance and significance of the show. This show is about 3 diverse families who all want to achieve the American dream at the turn of the 20th century, and the troubles, the triumph, and tragedy that ensues. This story about immigration, about family, could not be more timely right now. And that was the message on this carpet last night. Everyone was talking about how timeless this story, written in 1996 by Lynn Ahrens, Stephen Flaherty, and a book by the late Terrence McNally, could not resonate more. When I saw it, people are weeping next to me, crying. It gets standing ovation after standing ovation. Joshua Henry's performance is, as I said, it's going to go down in history books. And as we look later into the spring, we might see some Tony Award nominations from some of the cast in the show.
Is there an age group that you would recommend? I mean, is this for the family, or
you should go yes, you should bring the kids. There are young kids in the show. And I want to point out, when this show premiered in 1998, one of the little kids was Leah Michele, who was back on Broadway this season in Chess. She became Glee, yes,
Yeah, okay.
Glee
Yeah,
star,
yeah.
Glee star
Good
Lea
job.
Michele. And the other story I want to point out about this show is there's two kids. There's a little boy and a little girl. So Lea Michele was the little girl, and the little boy in the out of town tryout his name was Brandon Uranowitz. And what happened was this boy got too tall. He couldn't go to the Broadway production. And where is he now? He's starring as one of the leads in this show right now. So he finally got to star in this role and be in this show. And the other thing I want to point out is when he did this Brandon Uranowitz show back in the out of town tryout, he was starring opposite Marin Mazzie. And the other thing to point out is Marin Mazzie played the original mother, and she passed away in 1998 from ovarian cancer. So her presence was greatly missed as well from some of the leads.
You mentioned Lea Michele and Chess. That's also opening, right?
Yes. So performances began this week for Chess. Performances began, as we've been talking about here, the Queen of Versailles. For Beetlejuice, performances began. We've also been seeing openings of these star-studded plays, from Art to Waiting for Godot, as they say in this production as well.
Why do they say Godot instead of Godot?
I thought it was Godot. That's what they're saying in this play. And they make a joke about it too.
Okay.
You know, Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, you know, they kind of like, they're like Godot, I guess. Like, it's funny within the play.
They've also changed it to Queen of Versailles. So you need to get that right.
Got it.
Now you were also, you wanted to show us.
Yes. So I also,
here.
you know, I don't want to talk about only Broadway, because off Broadway, you have some great shows off Broadway.
That's Heather's.
So this is Heather's. I saw this week. This is a great show to take your teenage daughter
The
to.
Ultimate Mean Girl.
Yes, take your high schoolers to see this show. It was a great musical. It has, you know, I don't know what the word is. You know, it gets twisted, I will say, the plot. But the other show coming back to off Broadway or it's premiering is Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion. I
can't believe it even made it as a movie. And now,
so that's another musical to see. And then the other one is a revival of The Baker's Wife, starring our Oscar winner Ariana DeBose, and that is a Stephen Schwartz musical. And of course, Stephen Schwartz wrote Wicked and The Queen of Versailles.
All right, we'll have to see what you think of Queen of Versailles when you see it.
When I get to see it, I will be back here with my report.
Lea Sheps, always great to have you.
Thank you.
She's a genius. I mean, like the amount of
information,
of Broadway information in your head.
I study it all night, and I don't sleep, so I have the
genuinely
information.
astounding. I was looking for the teleprompter that you were
we
reading
love your
off of.
enthusiasm. That's
Very,
for sure.
thank you. I
well,
love being
up
here.
next, how one major hospital is using dogs to try to help detect cancer.
This is fascinating.
It really is. Connecting America will be right back. Well, welcome back to Connecting America. We are here at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey, celebrating this Friday morning. Nice to see everybody. Jim, Dave.
Cheers. TGIF.
To Friday.
Yep.
To Friday. Well, it's estimated that more than 2 million people in the United States are going to get diagnosed with cancer this year alone, according to the National Cancer Institute. And we know that early detection can be vital to increasing chances of survival. Well, Hackensack Meridian Health here in New Jersey is launching a study that will use trained dogs as well as artificial intelligence to detect cancer using an at-home breath test. Researchers are starting with breast cancer, and they're hoping that their findings can help to detect other forms of cancer in the future. And joining us now to talk more about that, we're joined by Elias Obeid from Hackensack Meridian Health. This is really interesting and groundbreaking. We've heard before about dogs being able to help, let's say, diabetics by detecting blood sugar drops and spikes. How are they going to be able to do it with cancer?
So, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show today so I can talk a little bit about this exciting research study. So, really, again, this is research. So, we're trying to understand how dog sniffing, coupled with technology, basically AI, so that we can detect cancer early. We know that cancer cells can release, we call them volatile organic compounds, and they can be released in the breath of human beings. And dogs, with their incredible sense of sniffing and smelling, they can detect those different volatile organic compounds. And accordingly, their behavior changes. Now, that change might be very difficult for us human beings to see, but with cameras and with sensors and coupled with AI technology, that change can potentially tell us about whether or not they're sniffing those volatile compounds.
And this is all about early detection. We know that's really important when it comes to fighting cancer, right?
That's correct. I mean, obviously, when in general we want to detect cancer, it's very important to detect cancer at an earlier stage. So the study is looking at breast cancer. Breast cancer is the leading cause of cancers in women. We know 1 out of 8 women would probably be diagnosed with breast cancer. Also, breast cancer has standard and gold standard detection and screening tools like mammograms, MRIs, and ultrasounds. And the question that we wanted to answer, we thought we'll start with a cancer that's common, that has a screening test. And then eventually, if this turns out to be valid, that needs to be validated in a larger study and also move to other cancer types.
If you could, how do the dogs do this? What in particular are they smelling?
So those volatile organic compounds, and I think the science is going to be also deciphered. So we will be working, later on with the company that is, basically developed this technology to understand what exactly those volatile compounds are.
So would this be more? Would this be coming much sooner in terms of diagnosis than what you would see in a mammogram, ultrasound, and also can you detect it? You mentioned being able to detect it by the smell. Is that before you can detect something in blood work?
So there are different ways of potentially looking at the presence of cancer. We know that there are currently different companies looking at the blood tests that are looking at early detection of cancer. This is a little bit different, but in the same concept that the early detection. This one is looking at the breath compounds. So we don't know if the dogs will be able to sniff anything in the blood. It's possible, but I think this is very minimally invasive because it's just breathing.
Right.
A woman who is, trying to avoid anything that's invasive. I mean, this is the simplest and the least invasive thing that can be done. Typically, they are given a face mask, one of those N95 masks that we had to wear during the pandemic.
Yes.
It will be lined with a special mask that the company would need to use for the dogs to sniff, and they breathe into it for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then they'll put it in a canister, and that will be shipped where the dogs are, so they can sniff.
Wow.
How's the AI involved in this?
The AI is involved in detecting the very minimal changes in the dog's behaviors that would, enable. And again, it's an AI
Oh,
technology and AI learning. So there will be a point where the AI technology learns significantly how those dogs' behaviors are changing, and therefore kind of stop there, and then it will be the same process over and over and over, because you don't want the AI technology to overlearn
right.
above what it should.
Well, as a dog lover, I was just curious: is there a particular breed that's better at this, or that you're using for the early studies?
So the breed that's being used here is beagle.
Beagles. All
Yeah.
right. I have a half beagle at home, and she can smell anything from a mile away. You could drop a crumb, and she can smell it. I don't know how great she'd be at detecting anything, though.
She's half beagle, so maybe out of one nostril
Yeah.
she can smell and not the
Maybe.
other. Yeah.
Well, this is fascinating. We wish you the best of luck, and we'd like
Thank
to
you.
check back in with you to see how this is going. Dr. Elias Obeid from Hackensack Meridian Health. Thanks so much for joining
Thank you
us.
for the interest. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Bring the beagle here. All right.
Yeah.
President Trump's so-called one big beautiful bill slashes nearly $1 trillion from Medicaid and children's health programs over the next 10 years. Among the hardest hit rural communities where Medicaid is a lifeline for people struggling with high rates of chronic disease, disability, and opioid abuse. Reporter Chris Knight has more on the story from rural Georgia.
In Banks County, Georgia, where I live, we're one of 23 counties in the state that doesn't have a hospital. Nationwide, rural hospitals are closing their doors. Doctors and nurses are pushed to the limits. And now another blow, insurance companies pulling back, leaving rural families with fewer and fewer options. One person who feels it most is Sharon Thomason.
It's just been a nightmare.
Sharon can't see her doctor of 25 years because he's now out of network. And to make matters worse, Sharon's husband has cancer.
How far do y'all have to drive for your husband's cancer care to Athens? Hour. You hear people say all the time, you got to choose between medication or something to eat. We're there, and I never thought I'd be there.
It costs more to deliver health care in rural communities because of the smaller number of patients served relative to the fixed cost of services. In May of 2023, Sharon's family, along with thousands of others here in Georgia, including my own, received this letter in the mail from the Northeast Georgia Health System, telling us that our health insurance, United Healthcare, one of the largest insurance providers in the country, is no longer accepted at their hospitals or urgent care centers. Because United Healthcare and the Northeast Georgia Health System can't come to terms on a new contract.
We've had to change treatment plans, doctors, and everything in the last few months in the middle of treatment.
Describe this whole experience in one word.
Devastating.
According to the United States Census Bureau, 12% of rural residents under the age of 65 don't even have health insurance. In rural Georgia, I'm Chris Knight.
There are certain things that you just take for granted. I mean, she's talking about not even having a hospital. I mean, we take for granted, living in this area at least, of just how much access we have to healthcare.
That's part of the Democrats, fight right now with the government shutdown, as they think rural hospitals are going to continue to shut down as a result of that.
Got some news on the climate front. The United Nations is saying carbon dioxide levels increased by record amounts last year, soaring to the highest numbers ever recorded. UN says the big jump last year is likely due to emissions from wildfires. Also, of course, the burning of fossil fuels. The report says COH2 emissions impact the atmosphere now and will also do so for hundreds of years as they remain in the atmosphere for centuries. The UN says the increase in carbon dioxide emissions is leading to more extreme weather events. What did I say?
It's CO2.
CO2. Yeah.
What did you
I
say?
think I said
It's
COH2.
early. We'll give him a break.
It is.
We'll
It
give him a
is.
break. He wasn't the chemistry major. Right here.
He's like, this is a very particular particle
Also
here.
not an
that
English
is-
major. I was an English major and I couldn't even read.
No, you're fine.
Sorry.
Well, no,
I saw the look from Dave. I knew it was a fail.
nobody likes
CO2,
it.
folks.
Yeah, CO2. There you go.
Who
Nobody
put the
likes
question
it.
mark in there? I'm Ron Burgundy.
CO2? Do not say the next part, San Diego. Nobody likes it, but everybody has to have it. And now you have to pay more for it. We're talking about car insurance. Rates are increasing faster than inflation each and every year, and they've gone up by 50% in the past 5 years. According to Money Geek, the national average cost of full coverage is $216 a month or $2,500 a year, up for 11% from 2024. The main reasons increases, medical expenses are rising, repair costs are increasing, more natural disasters are happening, and some parts are less available and more expensive.
And on top of that, we've reached an all-time high in terms of the price of a car as well. Both new and used last month hit all-time highs. So the affordability of a car between insurance, it's devastating for the American people. And there was so much talk about inflation during the Biden administration, and it really seems to have slipped off the radar. It's getting worse in many parts of our economy. But
I was just wondering, by the way, with Waymo and with the self-driving Teslas and on and on and on, would you be able to get a reduction in your insurance costs? Because apparently, if you have a self-driving car, because it's just the chances of getting into
Human
a
error
human
are
error
eliminated?
accident. I mean, it's incredible.
Interesting question.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're in a car that's way less likely to cause like a huge accident.
I don't think we have the research quite yet.
Well, yeah.
It's a little early.
You know, I'm just thinking ahead.
No, it's an interesting question. Ahead, yeah.
Hey, if you'd like to connect with us, you can download the best of Connecting America every day. Wherever you get your podcast, just type in Connecting America in that search bar and you'll find us. Or you can find us on social media. We're all over the place. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well. And we're on YouTube where you can watch me say COH2 again.
Inventing new molecules as we speak. We're going to be back at the top of the hour as the diner is starting to fill up, and we're going to talk to some folks here. We'll be right back.
The views expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of USA Today or its affiliates.
Morning. Welcome back to Connecting America on the USA Today streaming channels. I'm Jim Rosenfield alongside Dave Briggs and Kieran Chetry here at the Sunrise Diner in Roselle Park, New Jersey. We're going to turn to things happen overseas, right?
That's right. President Trump is again taking aim at Hamas after scenes like the one you're about to see have been going viral, showing Hamas fighters executing rivals in public in an apparent power grab. The U.S. military's top brass in the Middle East is telling Hamas they need to end this violent crackdown now. And Trump was saying it a bit more forcefully, posting on Truth Social, quote, "If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we'll have no choice but to go in and kill them."
Meanwhile, funeral services were held yesterday in Israel for the slain hostages whose bodies were returned by Hamas. Tamir Nimrati was one of them. His body was returned Wednesday night. Nimrati's family was a prominent voice in Israel in the fight to return all the hostages. The other burial yesterday was for Master Sergeant Mohammed al-Atarash. He was killed during a battle with Hamas militants 2 years ago on the day of the surprise attack. His body was held until this week.
With more on this momentous week in the Middle East, we're going to speak with David Sussman near Jerusalem and Israel. David is the host of Land of the Bible. Good morning to you, sir. What is the latest you're hearing from what we thought was going to be a ceasefire and a ceasing of hostilities?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. So, you said that what we thought was going to be a ceasefire. This isn't my first time on the show and discussing the ceasefire as it was being discussed and implemented. We all had our reservations over here. We know who Hamas is over here. And we had our doubts that Hamas would really lay down their arms. But we wanted to have assurances from America and the international community that if Hamas did not meet the criteria of the ceasefire, that hopefully not just Israel, but it sounds like America, maybe even international coalition, will put an end to this tyrannical regime of Hamas, who, as we can see from the videos that are spreading all around the internet, and they have done this multiple times. I mean, this is nothing new. They are executing people at point blank range right there in the streets of Gaza. So this is who Hamas is. And this is why Israel wanted to eradicate them, wanted to get rid of them once and for all. The ceasefire, we almost were able to completely defeat Hamas. And hopefully the international community will join in this fight against this radical regime.
I think what's so disappointing for people that were hoping that this time could possibly be different is the fact that it appears to just be business as usual when it comes to Hamas. But one of the differences, at least the hope for the differences, was going to be other countries in the region stepping in and trying to make sure that this ends differently than it has in the past. Countries like Qatar, countries like Egypt, countries in the area that will help. How important is their role going to be in this?
So I think the role of the international community will be huge, and definitely here in the Middle East. I mean, places like Turkey, Qatar, these are places that have already funded Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood and other radical ideologies within Islam. So I don't know how trustworthy they are. However, Indonesia, some other countries, and definitely the West, if they get involved and they're able to apply pressure to those other countries like Turkey, like Qatar, then maybe there'll be something positive that will really blossom from this momentous occasion. I mean, here in Israel, I'm wearing my gratitude shirt right now. We are so grateful that our hostages are home. Obviously, we have some bodies that still need to be returned, but all the living hostages are safe and sound here at home, and we're able to celebrate the final days of our holiday season here in Israel. And we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, I can't imagine if you're one of the families waiting for the remains of your loved one and you were so hopeful that that was going to happen sooner rather than later, and it's proving problematic, apparently. Also, David, do you have any insight on what's going on with aid now flowing into Gaza? That was part of this deal, that the aid sort of would be stepped up, but with Hamas still, as we see on the streets of Gaza, executing people, is that impacting what is happening with the aid?
Yeah, I'm sorry. It didn't come in so clear, but from what I think I understood from you, what we're seeing right now in Gaza and with Hamas, like I said, what is really, frightening is the deafening silence from all of those protests that we heard on college campuses and throughout the international community. I haven't seen one protest that's saying, "Hey, look what Hamas is doing. They're executing people in the streets, and we can't have this. There needs to be an end to this genocide that Hamas is committing." Nothing. You're just hearing crickets right now from those very outspoken people when Israel went in to try and eliminate, after 8 Hamas rule, killing people in the streets, whether they were homosexual, whether they were, even Christians. Christians in Gaza, they'll have mixed dancing at their wedding. I know it sounds crazy to us, but they're so far against women and men dancing together, drinking alcohol, that they would shoot up weddings. They killed people from the Palestinian Authority when they did their bloody coup in 2005. So this is nothing new to us. We just wish that those voices who spoke up for the Palestinians during the last 2 years would speak up for them now, which they didn't do for the previous 18 years of Hamas's rule. So I guess it's really not so surprising.
All right, David Sussman, the host of Land of the Bible. Always appreciate you joining us from Israel. I think on both sides of this equation, there were fears that we were rushing the deal without just celebrating the hostage being returned, because one, you didn't hear Benjamin Netanyahu say a word about a future Palestinian state. And on the other side, there were fears that Hamas would never disarm. So it appears on both sides, they weren't quite ready for a deal or Mideast peace. Yeah. The hostages returned was a huge moment. But I think the announcement of this 20-point deal, we were nowhere near.
Where does it go from here?
Yeah. Meanwhile, President Trump once again flexing his diplomatic muscles to bring an end to the nearly 4-year war in Ukraine. Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke on the phone Thursday. It might have been a crucial call because they decided to have another face-to-face meeting in a few weeks in Hungary, and later today, Trump meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House. And interesting because, again, I think skeptics here say, why would we grant Putin another in-person meeting when all he has done from the announcement of the first meeting is ramp up the attacks on Ukraine? It's not clear he deserved one in-person meeting on U.S. soil, let alone two. There's no optimism for a stand down here.
Well, I disagree.
Zero.
I disagree because I think that you got to talk. I mean,
without progress,
he is the one who is going to be the key driver of getting to a ceasefire and eventually to stop the war.
I think it's going to be really interesting today to watch this meeting between Zelensky and Trump in the Oval Office. The optics of that, and this discussion about selling Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine, which is a game changer for them potentially in a way in prosecuting this war.
Well, they can't
because they have longer range and they can reach into Russia. And obviously, President Trump is using that against Putin to say, "Hey, you need to sit down. And we need to work this out."
I think that will tell us everything.
Mm-hmm.
If Trump is willing to arm Ukraine with Tomahawks, we will finally know that Trump is willing to drop the hammer on Russia that we have not seen throughout the last couple of months.
President Trump featured prominently as well, guys, in the first New York City mayoral debate between Democrat Socialist Zohran Mamdani, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, and Republican and Guardian Angels founder Curtis Sliwa. This was last night. Take a listen.
I would make it clear to the president that I am willing to not only speak to him, but to work with him if it means delivering on lowering the cost of living for New Yorkers. That's something that he ran his presidential campaign on, and yet all he's been able to deliver thus far has been prosecuting his political enemies and trying to enact the largest deportation program in American history. And what I'd tell the president is if he ever wants to come for New Yorkers in the way that he has been, he's going to have to get through me as the next mayor of this city.
I would say to the president in the first conversation, look, we have had many, many battles. We fought together every day during COVID. And the battles were bloody. And I'd like to avoid them. I'd like to work with you. I think we can do good things together. But number one, I will fight you every step of the way if you try to hurt New York.
Look, you can be tough, but you can't be tough if it's going to cost people desperately needed federal funds. Zoran Mandami, the president, has already said it's going to take $7 billion out of the budget right from the start if you're elected mayor. People are going to suffer in this city. People who need those federal funds. What I would do is sit and negotiate. I would say, look, Mr. President, we need that gateway.
So a lot of talk about who's tougher when it comes to standing up to Trump. We're joined by our political pundit, Jim McQueenie now. Hey, Jim, good morning. Thanks for being here. From President Trump to the situation in the Middle East. A lot of focus was on national and international issues, but do New York City voters care about those issues? Or, as Zoran Mamdani likes to say, it's about affordability?
Well, they do care about these issues, and they don't have a choice given wall-to-wall commercials for this thing in the New York market. It's every minute there's a commercial on it here. But it was interesting to see in this particular debate, at times when they talked about the international stuff, they looked like foreign ministers from another country dissecting U.S. policy on here, rather than running for the mayoralty of the biggest city in the United States. But nonetheless, there's some dog whistle things on that international thing. The dog whistles are the Jewish vote in New York, which is extremely heavy, and tripwired here about what's going on in Gaza and Israel here. And Cuomo has got to claw back those votes. He's behind. And Mondami's got to walk a fine line between what might be perceived as favoring, not liking Israel enough for that Jewish vote, but alienating basically others, including in his own Democratic Party, since he's a Democratic nominee, from the progressives who have issues with Israel about that. But back to Trump for a second here on the domestic stuff. What you saw in those sound bites pretty much personified each candidate's positions, right? You saw an aggressive Mondami on there. And then you saw basically Cuomo saying as a governor he had a deal with Trump. He wants to negotiate. And then probably the most sensible thing came from the most obscure candidate in here, which is Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, who's not going to win, by the way. There's not enough numbers for him under any circumstance. But he said, what are you guys doing? Basically, there's too much testosterone in this room. We can't go up against Trump like this and expect anything back. You got to negotiate on here. So it's kind of interesting to see that in the debate as a whole.
Well, I have a question about Curtis Sliwa. Is there any chance, I know it's getting late in the game, they have one more debate on the 22nd, early voting and mail-in balloting is happening. Is there any chance that he would throw his support behind Cuomo, or are they just way too, adversarial with each other?
Probably not. He's in it for the long term. Well, there's only a short term now. It's only 3 weeks. But it was interesting to see when he was asked when Curtis Sliwa was asked, what qualifications do you have to run the largest city in America? And basically his answer was, I have a lot of experience. I founded the Guardian Angels. That was ludicrous. Even if he were to throw his support to somebody, I don't think there's a lot of it. Republicans aren't going to leave for Cuomo by and large, or leave for Mondami on here. He doesn't have a lot to give. It's like the Adams endorsement. Cuomo benefited a point or two from that one when he got out, but I don't see him having any clout whatsoever, Sliwa. Although he did have that good line in the debate when he said, "There's just in the beginning when it was chaotic, there's too much testosterone in this room." Like that was pretty funny. And by the way, zinger, when you teach people to do candidate debates on things like this, you always try to come up with a zinger. And I've had to do this in the past as well. The best zinger of the night came from Mamdani. When he was asked, when we were talking about credibility and all that kind of stuff, he said, and I want to read this because I don't want to get it wrong, what I don't have is experience, he said, and that's a criticism to him. I have integrity. What you, and he was talking to Cuomo, what you don't have is integrity. You could never make it up for inexperience. What a zinger. It was a great line, and Cuomo was left speechless.
Yeah, look, Mamdani, for all his flaws on his resume, he is a skilled political operator, and we've seen that time and time again. But it's shocking when you look at this race. Even if you take Sliwa out of the race, according to the Fox News poll, Mamdani still wins by double digits, even if you gave all his support to Cuomo. This is nothing approaching a race. So the socialism didn't hurt Mamdani. The failure to condemn Hamas didn't hurt Mamdani. Is there anything that could change the dynamic of this race, Jim?
Dave, I don't think so. Why? Because the polls are the polls in the head-to-head, and he's ahead by an ample amount, and it's pretty late to close this kind of thing or what you do, with the exception of a faux pas. He made no faux pas on that debate, meaning Mamdani, and not likely to do it because he's so skilled on what he did, how he did the debate and how he frames it and does it. But one thing you've got to realize here, the reason it's not going to change that much and why Mamdani is going to win this thing is because sentiment polls are different from head-to-head. Sentiment polls are, how do you feel? And people in all polls everywhere around the country, including New York City, they want change. And Cuomo, when he was trying to show how much experience he had last night, he was reminding people of he's the status quo.
Right.
And that actually hurt him in this debate, I think, for those that were looking toward him as a possibility.
Yeah, a lot of reminders that he resigned as governor. That didn't help him at all last night.
No.
And the whole issue of how he handled COVID with nursing homes, Jim.
I'm curious, Jim, just your thoughts. 4 years from now, could we be looking at a potential Republican mayor of New York City? I know many people thought that was unfathomable, but I think right now they should be kicking themselves for not running a stronger candidate.
Well, I don't think the story is over on that, Dave, because I think the Trump deciding once again in his peripatetic tweets that New York is not going to get the Gateway Tunnel money from the feds. I think there's a lot of politics behind that, mostly about Governor Hochul, who's up next year, the Democrat, and maybe putting her in a position of not being able to deliver something. But it also applies to the mayoralty here, because it looked like to me, when you want to get at the front runner, Mamdani, put him on the spot like this, you want him there because in 4 more years, Republicans feel that they'll be able to come back as a mayor for a mayoral candidate in 4 more years because Mamdani just won't be able to do it. They don't want to help him do it. They just want to help him get there so they can basically make him, a target for 4 years.
Right, and they want this pendulum to swing the complete other way. One quick question about that, though. We know that financial and economic issues are top in the minds of New Yorkers. Safety and security, another one. Dave mentioned what is it that could actually ding the popularity of Mamdani? What about the fact that, both of his opponents called him on the carpet about calling police racist back in 2020, about talking about defunding the police, and a lot of other questions about the safety and security aspect in New York?
He's done a very deft shift from what those posts were 3 or 4 years ago and taken the usual politician stance. So that was then, but I've been educated more, so I have a different position here. And he did that when he was talking not about crime per se, although he's made outreach to the police. He talked about the Jewish community here and their uncertainty about him when he said, I have gone to so many meetings, I have met in synagogues and all that kind of thing like that. And I am now smarter is basically what he said. And so I think he's going to be able to escape the comments of the past here and be elected, actually.
Before you go, Jim, really quickly, you mentioned the Gateway Tunnel project, and it came up during the debate. But for commuters in New Jersey and people in New York who need an effective way to get back and forth across the river, what's going on with that? Is that dead per President Trump in terms of federal dollars, or is he just using this as a sort of a threat? Do we know where that stands?
There's always a threat. He giveth, he taketh away. It depends on what time of day and what media platform he wants to do. So that's number one. And there's the taco factor, right, as well here with Trump. But on the Gateway Tunnel, for instance, in New Jersey, there's a race for governor, Democrat, Republican. The Republican is closing in. If the Republican were to win, the Republican has just been screwed by Trump by taking away the money. That's very important for New Jersey and New York. New Jersey is the workforce for New York. And if they don't have the workforce, they can't build their economy in the city. So I think this has a lot to play, a lot more tweets to read. But I think at the end of the day, it's too big a deal not to fund. It's too far along the way. But
right,
you'll see
already under construction.
Yeah, that's right. And there's a couple of billion in, and there's a gazillion billion that have to be done. to be able to get it done. But I think you'll see this thing going played back and forth for politics. But in the end, it'll come around to it has to be built.
Jim McQueenie, thanks for joining us here this morning. We appreciate it.
Okay, President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, indicted late yesterday afternoon on 18 counts related to his handling of classified information. The federal indictment accuses Bolton of retaining and transmitting national security information and saying he shared it with two unauthorized individuals. CNN reports those two people are his wife and daughter. The indictment says Bolton used his AOL email account to share his notes and thoughts. Career professionals at the Justice Department have been working on this case since the Biden administration. President Trump reacting shortly after the announcement, saying he didn't know it had happened and that Bolton is a bad person and a bad guy. He has repeatedly publicly called for the prosecution of Bolton. Bolton's lawyer, meanwhile, said his client did nothing wrong. He could face decades in prison if convicted. The Wall Street Journal, very conservative leaning, wrote that John Bolton is a patriot who would never share classified information. And if he had been flattering of Trump in his book, he would not be prosecuted.
Well, the Wall Street Journal can't stand the president, so it's not surprising.
Well, I don't think that's fair to say. This is a Rupert Murdoch-owned newspaper. The editorial board doesn't generally take stances like you just suggested.
Well, they take anti-Trump stances, but I'm not trying to argue about the Wall Street Journal. What the question is?
You just did, though.
I don't find it that shocking. I don't find it that shocking that they said that they got in that zinger about the president.
Yeah.
But either way, I think that we'll see what happens. But when you hear from legal minds like Jonathan Turley, they say that this is actually a much stronger case, though, for the possession of the classified documents and the potential proof that they were disseminated.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier this is the third case that's come up in quick succession of so-called Trump adversaries who
James Comey, Letitia James, and these are people he has publicly called for prosecuting. And next would be Adam Schiff. I'm sure he's,
back to the mortgage fraud question, which is the Letitia James case.
Thin at the is an overstatement.
All right, you guys have plans coming up this weekend? Anything major?
Football, of course.
Football, yeah.
I'm with her. Yeah, okay. Football and hopefully golf. I don't know if it's warm enough. Is it over?
You got to wear like 4 vests. No, you can still get out
hanging
there.
on.
Yeah, hang on. As long as it's not raining, you're fine.
There are potentially millions of people who have some plans that involve No Kings protest. That's coming up tomorrow, guys. Organizers say rallies are planned at 2,500 locations across the country, including the National Mall in Washington. Back in June, the first No Kings Day drew millions of people to protest in all 50 states. Organizers say this country does not belong to kings, dictators, or tyrants. It belongs to we the people, thus the No Kings mantra there.
Yeah, estimates are they think this will be the single largest protest day in American history. I mean, that's a remarkable statistic when you think about our country's long history of protests.
We were talking to Joe Walsh's people coming up. He's going to be participating in one in his...
He's a former Republican congressman, former MAGA
Democrat.
Supporter, turned Democrat, an astounding turn.
And he's going back to his home district where he served in Congress, outside the Chicago suburbs, I think in Arlington Heights. And his people are expecting the turnout there to be double what it was in June. So we'll have to see. We're hoping to talk to Joe Walsh.
I think we all just hope it's peaceful. No matter what it is, I just hope it is peaceful because that will not help either side if there are violence.
It also happens to be my mom's birthday. I just remembered.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday,
Happy
Mama.
birthday, Nancy. All right. Well, more Connecting America when we come right back. Stay with us.
All right, welcome back to Connecting America. Ace Frehley, the original lead guitarist and co-founder of Kiss, has died at 74, guys. Who's a Kiss fan?
I love Kiss.
Do
I
you?
have to say,
No?
yes.
All
I
right,
do.
the family says he died from injuries after a fall last month.
Yeah.
Known as Space Ace, he helped define Kiss's iconic sound and stage style. His 1978 solo hit, New York Groove, became a classic, and he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014. Bandmates Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons called him an irreplaceable and core part of Kiss's legacy. Frehley continued recording and touring into his 70s. His final album, 10,000 Volts, was released last year. And of course, it's the makeup, right? The makeup and the sound is so iconic. There was a suggestion that we should dress up.
Yeah, do we have that picture? Do we have the picture of what they want us to be for Halloween?
We have a remarkable photo, which maybe we can show you when we end
I'm
this
sure
program.
Allison's on board. It's just a matter of what.
She's a rocker.
Yeah, she is a rocker. You could be Gene. I'll be Paul.
Who am I?
You are going to be Peter Criss, the drummer.
I think we're going to need about 9.
I always wanted to be a drummer.
See? All right, let's shift and talk about a little football. Week 7 of the NFL kicking off last night with the Steelers falling to the Bengals. 33-31. Here to talk about that and some other games, our friend Tyler Dragon, who covers the NFL for the USA Today. Mr. Dragon, always good to have you, sir. I mean, this is remarkable. A battle of 40-year-old quarterbacks. And Joe Flacco, we can never count this guy out. Truly remarkable performance.
Yeah, good morning. It was just the 4th time in NFL history that 2 40-year-old quarterbacks started in an NFL game, and they sure did not look 40. 40, I guess, is the new
40's the
30.
new 20. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank God.
Flacco was amazing. I mean, over 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, led the Bengals on 7 scoring drives. I mean, it's also an indictment to the Steelers defense, though.
Yes.
Those cornerbacks could not cover Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Chase had a career high 23 targets and a career high 16 receptions. So if you had Jamar Chase in your fantasy team, you are very happy.
38 fantasy points.
Jamar Chase was amazing last night. Certainly the best player on the field, but it was a much needed win for the Bengals on a 4-game losing streak. They're trying to stay afloat in the division, and for the Steelers team, it was a frustrating loss because they could have really took command of the AFC North division.
We're going back to London again, too. We got that early Sunday game, Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Rams. This is taking a different turn, right? Because the Rams are dealing with some devastating injuries, possibly. Puka Nacua may not play.
Yeah, I'm hearing he's probably not going to play because of a sprained ankle, and he's the leading receiver in receiving yards and receptions. So it's going to be a big loss for the Rams. They do have Devontae Adams, a future Hall of Fame receiver that Matthew Stafford can throw the ball to, and Kyron Williams at running back. But it's going to be an uphill battle for the LA Rams. This Jacksonville Jaguars team, that they're much improved. They did lose last weekend, but Trevor Lawrence and company, that they're playing very well. And then you never really know in these international games where teams have to fly across country. The Rams actually stayed in Baltimore during the week and flew from Baltimore to London, and the Jaguars, of course, flew from Jacksonville. So you never really know from these international games because of the jet lag, the time difference. So it can be real tricky for these NFL players.
Yeah, they've been ugly. They practiced at Camden Yards.
That was crazy. That was crazy.
Go ahead, Jim.
So with the league expanding the schedule of foreign games, is their international outreach accomplishing what they're hoping for?
Great question.
Yeah, most certainly. The league has always wanted to be a more international game. The fact that flag football is coming to Olympics also helps. The league really pushed for that, so all countries from around the world will be at the Olympics. But yeah, I mean, I can see the NFL expanding even more internationally in the years to come. You already had games in Brazil, London, of course. Spain is coming up, so the league is doing what they really want to do and expanding.
Can we go cover some of these?
I love the idea of an international Super Bowl. I hate the idea of a London team. I just think that would be a debacle, quite frankly. I want to ask about Kieran Chetry's favorite team, the Philadelphia Eagles, who my Broncos beat 2 weeks ago. And then the New York Giants just stomped them a week ago. This is the Super Bowl champs, and they were 4-0. How much has the narrative shifted and why?
I like that plug that your Broncos beat them 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I also got a text, by the way. I got a you know.
Yeah, well, really, the Eagles, their offense is so basic right now. It seems like the only thing that works for them is the tush push. AJ Brown runs like 3 routes right now, and teams are smart on the other end. Defensive coordinators, they can realize that the Eagles are doing the same thing over and over again. And really, the Eagles have the players, they have the talent.
They do.
Obviously,
That's
they won the
crazy.
Super Bowl. They returned 10 of 11 starters on offense. Their defense, they do need to get better at the pass rush and in the secondary. But overall, I'm not too concerned about the Eagles. I feel like this is the kind of the mid to early season bowls.
Me either, yes.
Bowl champion has. But they need to get back on track soon.
We remember what happened last year, and I just still loved Jalen Hurts' press conference where after they had a game where they just rocked the opponent, he's like, "You happy now? Is that what you wanted to see?" So, yes, I will be happy, and that's what I want to see this week.
Don't
Go
you want
Eagles.
to see the offense stop being so
Yeah.
boring?
Yeah, yes,
I mean, it's
badly.
bizarre.
I know
Saquon
the
Barkley,
offensive
50 yards a
coordinators.
game.
We're missing Kellen Moore. Yeah, we are. We're missing that
for
offense.
sure.
Saquon Barkley, what's going on there? I mean, I'm asking both of you. Like, is he cooked? I mean, 50 yards a game.
He's absolutely not. But I mean,
Dragon, is he cooked?
Opposing teams are stacking the box and keying in on Barkley. I mean, he rushed for 2,000 yards last year. So defenses are making sure that they take him away. So Jalen Hurts will have to be forced to pass the football. And unfortunately, for the Eagles, their passing offense is very bland and very basic right now. So that's the problem. But Saquon Barkley's not cooked. He's still the best running back in the NFL. He's going to have a breakout game sooner or later.
Jonathan Taylor called. He does not like you because I don't know.
I agree. Tyler's on point this morning.
All right, Tyler Dragon, always great to have you. Enjoy the weekend, my friend.
Well, this week's Wager Wire report, Zach Doctor and his co-founder Travis Geiger take a closer look at new media and sports betting and how technology like AI is, of course, disrupting everything again.
Today, we're going to journey over to the media side of the industry to take a look at a concept that's impacting both sportsbooks and casinos. This dealer is in a studio halfway around the world, and I'm playing blackjack with a bunch of strangers on my phone from California.
Too many for you.
Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, bettors are being entertained by a new type of program.
And this show, which is actually our show, The Whip Around, leverages AI technology to take different sources of content and weave them together into one cohesive sports betting variety show. Both the live dealer experience and AI-powered programming are products of new media, which we define as the offspring of technology and culture. To dig a little deeper, I'm sitting down with my co-founder, Travis Geiger, who has over a decade of experience directing in Hollywood.
What does Hollywood even do?
Yeah, exactly.
What we talk about all the time is we're all approaching the singularity. Cross-platform, omni-channel is a thing of the past. The brands of the future will find a way to stay with you no matter where you go.
Wow, yeah. I mean, it is kind of where it's all headed, though.
Narratives are learning from gamified dynamics. Netflix is figuring out how to give you micro dramas for free and then paywall the rest of them, get you to convert the same way you would on a free-to-play game. And games are looking at film and they're figuring out how to make a cinematic universe of their own. So it's all cross-pollinating.
It's all meeting in the middle.
And it's all meeting in the middle.
The singularity of, and not just of media. I think it goes along with the products and all this evolution you're seeing across it, like we talked about Kalshi. It's all converging into this one really kind of turning point moment, it feels like, for the whole industry.
So the future is going to get very weird.
It is going to get very weird, yeah.
We have some updated information for you.
I'm sorry. I love it. I love it.
Our Halloween costume. We have a really talented staff here. Manoj, well done.
Our extensive art department's been hard at work.
He admitted that was done by a simple prompt in ChatGPT.
It's amazing.
Which, as funny as we look, is really truly
So
remarkable.
that's Allison next to me and Trish, our server here at the diner on
Trish
the
is
end.
rocking the Paul Stanley. I love it. And I knew you were Gene Simmons, Dave. Look at you.
I don't have a long enough. Doesn't he have like the giant tongue?
Yes, he
yeah,
does.
I don't have a long enough tongue. My face got longer though.
It did.
It really did. Allison is not going to be happy with that. Allison looks like Insane Clown Posse. I mean, that is definitely.
She does look like a serial
right.
And there I am trying to figure out how to pronounce CO2.
Of course, you look the most normal, Jim, right? Like with the perfect anchor hair still there, the perfect posture. He just happens to be wearing kiss
Thinking
makeup.
about the periodic table.
All right, we'll be right back.
Oh, we're off the rails. We'll
Yeah.
be back.
And welcome back to Connecting America. The Ronald McDonald House already serves 600,000 people each year in dozens of countries, but it's looking to double that number by 2030. And it's just launched a new campaign to reintroduce people to the full range of the services it offers. We have some video right now from the Family Stays campaign. Let's take a look.
In
our hardest moments, we found there was a whole community of support waiting for us, where we were strengthened by other families to keep going.
Okay.
You're very brave. Just remember that. Holding each other for the bad news and the good.
Joining us now to talk about this is CEO Kate Fitzgerald from Ronald McDonald House. Thanks for being here, Kate. Can you explain to us, for people who may not be familiar with the services that Ronald McDonald House offers to families?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. So, what we discovered and why we did this Family Stays campaign is that most people, of course, know us, Ronald McDonald House. We're a well-known brand, but when we ask them what we do, they don't really understand what we do. So, yes, we provide housing, but we provide so much more than that. We provide meals and transportation to and from the hospital. We provide educational support in the houses so kids don't fall behind in school when they're hospitalized or their siblings are there. We provide emotional support groups and mental health service access and all that needs to be wrapped around a family when they're literally going through the darkest time in their lives. And as you said, we're in 60 countries around the world. And we really know that we're not meeting the demand either globally or here in the United States. So that is what this campaign is about.
And it's very ambitious, the growth plan. Are there any areas in particular that you're focusing on for this expansion?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, as you all said, we're in 60 countries. Most of our chapters and affiliates are here in the United States. And what we did in our strategic plan is look at where there are pediatric magnet hospitals all throughout the world, which means for us, they're the hospitals where families will have to travel further over time to get care. So, in the United States, since the last 20 years, almost 200 rural hospitals have closed in this country. And what that means both here and abroad is that when children are critically ill or injured, families have to travel further. And what Ronald McDonald House does is make sure that those families can access the life-saving treatment their families need and have the support they need. So our plan is really targeted for the growth plans that our chapters have, but really focusing on where we believe demand will be the greatest in the future.
Kate, you bring up a great point about these rural hospitals. Why are they closing so fast? And are you concerned it's about to get worse?
Yeah, I mean, what we know both here in the US, especially, but also in other parts of the world, is sort of two trends. Hospital consolidation. So the economic pressures on hospitals are so great that we're seeing more and more consolidation. And then pediatric specialization, especially in children's healthcare. So what that means is that the good news is technological advancements are getting so great that many of the illnesses that a child may have died from 10, 15 years ago can become chronic illnesses now. But that means that that one hospital is in another state or in another country. And that's why our work is so important and why we needed this growth plan to make sure families can stay there. We are, of course, worried that we'll see more hospital consolidation in the United States and elsewhere. And that is exactly why we have a sense of urgency around our plan.
Katie, I know you've served so many families in very tough situations as they're dealing with loved ones in the hospital. Any particular stories that stand out?
Oh, there's so many. But I would say one that is sort of exemplifies what we do, especially in developing countries. There was a little boy in Cartagena, Colombia, we met recently, who had a cardiac congenital heart disease. Yeah, there he is. Beautiful little boy. And I've been in that house. I've been in one of those rooms. And his family lives 4 hours away from the hospital and would not be able to afford to stay in Cartagena for this care if it were not for the Ronald McDonald House. And that's something a lot of people don't know about our mission, is that for many people, you can't leave your work and your life and live somewhere else for months on end while your child is treated. You can't afford to do it. And so what we do is make that treatment quite literally possible for these families. And another mom I met, just the comprehensive nature of our services, is another little baby, Dallas, who happened to actually have the same heart issue. And again, here they are. This is where this family, she has two little girls too. They stayed at a house, and those little girls got education support so they didn't fall behind in school. They were there 6 months, and now they have to move to the community where he will need successive heart surgeries for the next several years. And Ronald McDonald House is helping them with that transition. So it's really comprehensive care.
That's incredible.
Katie, before we go, how do you find these families, or how can they conversely find you?
Yeah, so families really find us through our hospital partners. We work hand in hand with hundreds and hundreds of hospitals that we partner with around the world. And so the hospitals are the ones who will refer families to us when children are hospitalized, when children are in treatment. But also if parents and families and others want to learn more about what we do, they can go to ronaldmcdonaldhouse.org. You can find a chapter in any part of the United States as well as throughout the world.
Wow, you guys are doing amazing work and just changing lives. And it's just dealing with the unimaginable and then having that support behind you is just incredible. Thank you so
learned
much.
today that it's international. I
Yeah.
didn't realize. I thought it was just domestic in
Yeah.
this country. So great to learn that and see what you're doing
Yeah.
around the world. Katie Fitzgerald from Ronald McDonald House, thanks so much for joining us.
All right, we'll be right back. Stick around.
We all know the adage, you are what you eat. But what we eat today is completely different than what our grandparents ate 50 years ago. Nowadays, many of us are missing out on one of the most vital proteins, which is collagen. So let's bring in Dr. Chad Walding. He's a director of physical therapy and the founder of Native Path. Dr. Walding, thanks so much for being here. Why is collagen important and what does it do for our bodies?
Well, hello. It's so good to be here. And yeah, I'm glad we're talking about collagen. I'm a physical therapist, so we're always looking after the body. And collagen is one of the main building blocks of the body. Our skin, our hair, our nails, it's all made up of collagen. Our bones, our gut lining, our arteries, our vessels, everything is made up of collagen. We're incredibly deficient in collagen because of the way we're eating in our modern world.
And so, doctor, what are some of those foods? What did we used to eat that was collagen rich that we don't anymore?
Well, for one, it's whole, real food, animal-based protein. In this modern world, we're eating a lot of refined carbohydrates with sugars, and we've really missed the mark on some of the most important things. So our ancestors, for instance, would take the bones of animals. They would put it in hot water. They would make soups and broths, and the tendons and the ligaments would make this gelatin-type tissue, and we would consume collagen on a regular basis, and it would refill our normal collagen stores.
So, Dr. Walding, I take it you have a pet at home?
I do. So what you're hearing is our little golden doodle, Maya, and she's a little 12-year-old running around, is happy. I also want to say, while you hear that dog is getting collagen on a consistent basis and is a very happy, very healthy dog. But my apologies for the sound.
No problem. There are a lot of collagen supplements, as I was referring to earlier, on the market. So how can people best sift through them and figure out what's best for them?
Yeah, well, sourcing matters. At Native Path, we really value the purity of our products, and not all collagen is created equal because of that sourcing. Some of the collagen out there is coming from cows that are raised on feedlots. They're eating corn, they're given hormones and antibiotics, and that creates not a very good collagen. You're not going to absorb that very well, and it's not going to be very potent. So the best collagen is coming from happy cows that are eating the way they were designed to eat, eating grass, drinking clean water, never given any hormones or antibiotics, and never living on feedlots. That creates a much better, more bioavailable, potent form of collagen. So that's what we get here at Native Path. We're big sticklers on all of our products. Everything is third-party tested for purity and heavy metals, and making sure that what you're getting is exactly what it's supposed to be.
I want to direct all of our viewers to the banner on the screen. It says getnativepath.com/CA. That's for Connecting America, of course. And we have a special bundle deal at a fraction of the retail price and some free shipping. What else will people find if they go there?
Well, you're going to find a lot of good information about how to get yourself on the path, but also how to use collagen on a consistent basis. It's a tasteless, odorless powder. And that's the thing, is making this a part of your routine, like a natural part of your diet. So you start to replenish your collagen storage. Use it in your coffee, use it in your tea. You can sprinkle it over your food, but be consistent with it, and you're going to start seeing results.
Okay, well, Dr. Chad Walding, thank you very much for all of the information. Great to talk to you today. And again, everybody should head to getnativepath.com/CA for Connecting America, and you'll find great offers and valuable information.
One last ode to Kiss as we leave you on this Friday.
What are you guys doing this weekend?
We are.
Wanna rock and roll all night.
Sing it, Dave.
And party every day. It's terrible. That is so bad.
My ears are bleeding.
I know. I'm sorry if you're only listening to it on radio.
Thanks for playing along.
Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks,
We'll
guys.
see you Monday.